Hello and welcome to another Bitsbox unboxing video. Today I'm going to be looking at the Super Mac stations, or Mac Weapons Platforms as the box says. Orbital defense platforms. These things have many names throughout the series, throughout the lore. So in our box we get a nice pamphlet advertising Spartan Games and their other products, plus this product no one cares, Halo Fleet Battles. We get our usual pack of, oh that's a lot of fighters, pack of tokens and such. We get our sheet of formation bases, and we get the Super Macs themselves. So 4 formation bases for 4 Mac platforms, so you get precisely what you need, no more, no less. We'll deal with the tokens, rules and such in a minute. Let's have a look at the miniatures. So if I just gently, because I have seen pictures of these online, they come in many bits. Oh, there's packaging inside packaging. The environmentalist in me feels sad about that, but hey ho. So, oof. Now, the fluff for these things is they are a capital grade weapon. They are basically the UNSC's attempt to cut down costs by just building the gun, forgetting about the rest of the ship. I'm guessing they got given like that. Yep, there we go. So, this is the size of a Super Mac. This is a marathon cruiser. So you can see there, the gun is approaching twice the length of the cruiser itself. Now what's quite interesting is, I never realized this in the design, you can see the accelerator coils there and there, which is quite nice. If you don't know, Mac guns are coil guns, which means they have little coils that steadily accelerate the round as they activate. So it starts off slow and gets very, very fast by the time it comes out of here. But it actually looks like they're a twin-barreled system. So that's interesting. I never realized that Macs were, or Super Macs at least, were maybe a 2-shot system. Maybe they fire 2 shots at once. Maybe they stagger the shots for greater rate of fire. As these designs are canonical, it means we can sort of look at them and ponder. So we can see the, oh, let me just get that in focus. You can see the guns themselves, quite nice, quite detailed. The, I'm guessing the attachment point, whatever you want to call it. There's a little bit of a resin flash on there, but quick run around for knife. And see, there's, no, that's, is it? Oof. Is that mold lines? It's quite pronounced for mold lines. It looks deliberate, that little rim along the edge there, it looks deliberate. Oh wait, yeah, that's the edge of the flat bit there. You can see there. So yeah, only real cleanup is that bit there. And then there are various other pieces. These seem to come in quite a lot of bits, so I might actually have to read the instructions on these to work out how to build them. As you know, normally UNSC especially, but Spartan Games, Halo models in general tend to be really nice and easy to assemble, but that one might be a little bit tricky for people who aren't familiar with assembling models. So, we get our usual token sheet. This one's the fighter tokens, because these do have hangers. They can dispense fighters to harass your enemy. No bombers apparently. If I remember rightly, we get a instructions sheet for how to build it. That was a DSC. This is the brain's gone dead. This is the ODP Super Mac. So we'll need that in a minute. And this is the stat sheet from the other pack we had with the halberd, plus formation bases. We'll go for them in a minute. So we get 1 unit in this box. Though we get rules for other units, we get 1 unit. That is the UNSC Mac platform. Now, a damage track of 763 is about equivalent to a supported marathon, and a build rating of 3, it's the same build rating as well. So, if we were to compare it to a supported marathon, what do we get? As a very, very rough comparison. Now, it's worth pointing out these things have entirely different roles, but we'll use it as a comparison for something. So, the support marathon runs 110 points. The Super Mac is 160. Obviously, the Mac platform can't move, but it does get an extra titanium armor dice, 2 extra hangers, 2 extra security detail. Now, bearing in mind this will be in your deployment zone the entire game, if the Covenant player is boarding you, it's likely you've already lost. So, at least it'll be hard for them to board the Mac platform, and you can actually put a Spartan aboard if you really wanted to reenact the UNSC Cairo. I would expect Covenant players to just crack out the Plasma Lance and try and kill this at range, but hey ho, you know, give it a go. It'll be fun at least. The point defensive 5 as well, that's quite solid. That'll keep it safe from bombers by the looks of it, especially those nasty covey ones. So the gun, it is, as I said, a single floating gun, because why build a ship if you could build a floating gun cheaper? The Covenant are going to come to your worlds anyway, so you know, you might as well put a big gun and wait for them. No need to go out hunting them. So it gets 10 dice, same as the supported marathon. Yeah, it's a Super Mac though, so it comes in 20/40 inch range with Mac free. Can only fire forward. Now, it's also an emplacement. If you're not familiar with the rules from the rule book, emplacement means that it can only turn 45 degrees a turn before firing. Obviously, it doesn't move, but it does get a 12-inch coherency. Now, you can only take the Mac platforms in pairs, if I remember right. I think you might be able to take them in singly, but I'd say generally they seem like they'd have to be in pairs, so we'll treat them as such. 320 points. What do you get? Well, you get 2 snipers basically, and that's going to be entirely up to you how valuable that is. Now, they have 4 hangers, but they can only take interceptors, they can't take bombers. You can also only have 2 of these per full 1,000 points. Similar rule to the massive ships, Spartans, things like that. So, I would say in small points games, these actually aren't very good, because it's a lot invested in a very small unit. But consider the fact you can hit targets out to 40 inches with 20 dice at max 6. That's quite good. A lot of people are disappointed that these aren't as good as fluff would suggest. They're not capable of punching through a CAS, blowing up all 3 sections, and then continuing on, taking out 4 ORSs, and then finally killing an arc. But for one, that would be really unfair on Covenant players, and while they do deserve it, I don't think that would be very nice. It would make a very fun game if one player got a point-and-click automatic kill cannon. So in pairs, 20 dice at 40 inches. Now bear in mind, you're going to be targeting big ships with this. So consider the ORS class cruiser. Now if you deploy these last, and I would always endeavour to try and deploy these last if you can, you've got a weapon that you can set up covering a lane as such. So an ORS cruiser is deployed on one side of your opponent's table, and you deploy the 2 Mac stations opposite with a nice clean line of sight to that ORS cruiser. Turn 1, if you go first, at 40 inches, so if you're deploying 8 inches and they're deploying 8 inches on a 48-inch table, you are going to be in range. Especially if you deploy second, you can make sure you're going to be in range. So you can have those Super Macs in range turn 1. Now bear in mind, you'd often have to wait for the ORS to move forward and then move forward with marathons to get into their 32-inch range to counterattack. You'd have to maneuver cleverly, basically, to get into Mac range turn 1. And you would never get into Mac 6 range unless you took the Cerberus battle group, which is 2 reinforced marathons. Other than that, you just don't get Mac 6 at that range. Oh, and the Punic, because the Punic effectively just has 2 of these built into the front section. And I've never heard anyone say, boy, that Punic is really lacking in firepower and never kills anything. But people are saying that about these Mac stations. They're effectively the front section of a Punic, static, not quite as tough, but not tied to the rest of the ship. Are they good? Well, in the in the example of the ORS, turn 1, you can shoot at it. It then activates, it moves forward 5 inches. If you're 40 inches away, it moves forward 5 inches at most, and it tries to fire at 32 inches. That's 37 inches, which is 3 inches shy of being able to actually shoot you. Next turn, you fire again. If it's still standing, it moves forward to 5 inches, and now it can shoot. On top of that, you've got to consider the fact that you would have Marathons pressing forward, Orions, probably Epochs as well, drawing the long-range fire. If they're trying to shoot at your snipers hiding at the back there, your Mac platforms, they're not shooting at the stuff that's going to advance up, the very, very fragile Marathons. If you play it right, and if you get your opponent on the back foot, you could really give them target priority issues. That's how I feel about it personally. You're going to have to... They're not going to win the game by themselves, basically. They can be outmaneuvered, but if your opponent glides through an asteroid, glides around an asteroid field to hide from them, rather than pushing forward and melting your bricks and your Orions, etc., then that's bought you another turn. If your opponent charges in, takes 2 of these, and loses a damage track and is vulnerable, then that's playing in your favor, because then you can just pummel them with another battle group and finish them off. So, bear that in mind. I would personally say they are quite good value for the points. And I would personally recommend getting them. Though they do serve one playstyle, they do it well. Though they are expensive, I do feel they're worth it. Though obviously we're going to have to play them and see. But you have to bear in mind the fact that they don't move, and a lot of people say it's a disadvantage. But in this game, that can be an advantage, because you always have to move forward. So a clever Covenant player can push right up in your face as UNSC and force you to have to overshoot them. And then they glide or they turn and they use their 270-degree arc weapons to start pummeling you in the backside. You don't want to advance too close to the Covenant as UNSC, but you have to keep moving forward with Marathons. Eventually, a combination of you moving forward and then pressing forward is going to have you in short range getting melted. So these guys, they can just sit back. They don't have to move forward. They don't have to start pushing themselves and getting in short range. They can just sit back and shoot all day. Now, they're going to have a little bit of an issue of cloaking, because 20 at short range, they're not going to be negating the ORS's cloaking or any of the other ships that now have cloaking because of the ADP upgrades. They're not going to be able to deal with that until you're basically in the whites of their eyes at 20 inches, which means they're on your side of the table, because you would be in your deployment zone firing 20 inches into the table. So yeah, that would definitely be a worst case scenario for the UNSC player if they got that close, but at least you could put some good shots in them before they take you out. Now, the interesting thing about this I just noticed is most of the time you don't seem to get enough overlays. This one you actually get too many. You get 6 Mac platform overlays. Though actually you do get little, oh I see, yeah. If you haven't seen it on the box, let me just show you. There's a little diagram where you can have ships docked at the Mac platform, which is, if you've got a couple of spare ships in the box and you want to make it look a bit more cinematic, that's quite cool. You could have a Paris-class frigate docked there and pretend it's in amberclad. If you want to go for full-on UNSC Cairo style of defense mission. I normally, probably should not punch the camera or the tripod. I normally try and assemble models on camera, but I think these ones are going to be ones the sort you'll actually have to sit down and assemble them properly with a knife, cleaning off all the flash. But looking at them after a quick look at the instructions, so these little bits go in here somehow, like that. Those are the stabilizers, I'm guessing, that allow it to rotate and target. Oops, I'll try and find one that hasn't got a flash on it. That is a little mount. So you'll notice a Along here you can mount them vertically, so they're pointing up. Oops. Presumably somewhere this little mount goes on the side. Looks like it goes here. Here, does it go there? Again, I'll not be able to assemble this on camera, but I probably won't stop me trying. There we go. So you can assemble it that way, and you can have the gun pointing down ranged. I'm personally going to do it like that because, one, that doesn't really make any sense. It's just shooting up in the air. In space, it's just shooting up. But at least this way you can have it point like that, and you can actually point at the target you want to kill. Plus that looks really menacing. That is not the gun I'd like to look down the barrel of, even if it was straight. But yeah, overall I'm quite pleased with them, and I would definitely recommend them if you're looking to. I'd say they're very useful for planetary defense missions, possibly more of a cinematic or narrative piece than a necessarily super duper gameplay piece. Bear in mind, these are also, while they're emplacements, they're not a special battle group. They still count as a standard battle group, so Lord Hood can combo them with something else. So imagine being able to combo these guys, sitting in the back, sniping, with a brick that's just closed in on a CAS. That is probably about the closest thing you could get to, you know, one-shotting a section of a CAS. So bear that in mind. That is probably actually the best use for them. Then again, Lord Hood's the best use for a lot of UNSC. So, that was the Mac stations.